and welcome to iScience Radio. We're here from Imperial's best and only science magazine, talking intriguing science news, culture, and a bit of science silliness. I'm Caitlin, your host for this evening's show, and in the studio with me is Ellen and Brian. And how are you both feeling tonight?
Good, thank you.
I'm a little poorly, but I'm hanging in there. You might hear it in my voice if you're listening out of the keen ear.
Yes, Brian's a bit croakier than usual, and we'll explore why when we come on to the science of smell, which
it's almost
is
as if you
coming
planned it, Brian.
Oh yeah, definitely. I
all for the
strategically
segment.
took some germs and solved them down to get a croaky voice just for this segment.
They'll do anything for the segment.
Commitment to the cause, that is what we like to see here at iScience. As well as the science of smell, we'll also be hearing from Ellen, who's going to round up the most scintillating of the past week's science news. We're also heading to British Columbia to hear some sounds of the sea. That's with me. How can I be in two places at once? The wonders of radio. And we'll be looking at the Ig Nobles, the satirical prize that parodies the Nobel Prize for strange findings in science. And finally, it wouldn't be the iScience Radio show without our quiz, where our guests will go head to head in a high-stakes battle of the mind. The winner gets Nout but Glory, I'm afraid, this week. I have failed on the chocolate front.
No, chocolate bar, my goodness.
Yeah,
I'm walking away right now.
Maybe a cough sweet for you, Brian.
That would be lovely, actually. That sounds a lot better than a chocolate bar.
A cold glass of water. Just, yeah.
Or we get some chamomile tea and I can just let it waft over me, the steam.
Knock it back.
Yeah, so just the glory this week. All this to come, but first let's jump into some music. We've got Delphine by Kadja Bonet on the show. She's a multi-talented, multi-instrumentalist artist from LA.
What's it mean, Delphine? Delphine, Delphine. This letter you wrote to me. Does it read goodbye? Maybe a strange hello. You know I've always been the first to try something new for you and me. I know the distance can confuse your mind. Give it time, Delphine, you will see. What's it mean, Delphine? Delphine, Delphine. Oh, this bit about growing pains and feeling lost. ask her sick again. We should stop by. I said tea with Liz. She comes at 5. I have found your favorite read behind the bed. What's the matter, sweet, sweet Delphine? I know exactly who you are, Delphine. You're the one for me, Delphine. I know the distance can confuse your mind. Give it time, Delphine. Give it time. Time. A little bit of I know exactly who you are, Delphine. You're the one for me, Delphine. I know the distance can confuse your mind. Give it time, Delphine. Give it time.
So that was Delphine by Kaja Bonet. I'm a big fan. What did you guys think?
Big fan. I'll be
For my
listening
first
to
time
that.
listening to it, I was sort of in a mystified stupor here for a bit, just letting it waft over me. I was with Delphine. I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely one to listen to by yourself with headphones on as well.
A main character moment.
Yeah.
Well, here in
she
our
is.
soundproof studio as well,
Yeah.
you really get the whole experience.
That's true, except we can't play it fully out loud yet, which hopefully we can sort that out for next time. So, Ellen, I hear you've been looking into the science news as our deputy editor of news for
Yes.
iScience.
Yes. And we actually had a few little conversations about it before we came in here. So the first topic, which I want to talk to you guys about, was about hummingbirds. And Caitlin, I heard that you saw one over summer.
I did, yes.
Where did you see them?
In British Columbia, which is where I will be going and seeing some whales later on the show. No, I had one come about the distance from Brian to me, so about 2 meters away.
Oh, incredible.
It really was, and it seemed like it was being very territorial. It came really, really close to me,
Yeah.
and it seemed like it was kind of checking whether I was dangerous at all.
Scoping you out.
And it was beautiful. I mean, so tiny. But then when I spoke to some Canadians, they said, yeah, they're super territorial, and they will chase off and defend their patch
Really?
from other birds, other species. Really,
But
really
they're also
vigorously.
like unbelievably fast as well. I think they reach like 30 miles per hour or something when flying. But the reason I brought them up this week is, when you saw them, did you ever see them fly through like a small gap or anything to get to like vegetation, to get nectar, seeds, fruit?
I saw them zipping in and out of these trees, and
Yeah.
they were incredibly agile. They were moving in such an amazing way, kind of like, you know, in the Matrix, those what are they called, the sentinels?
Oh,
Oh,
they zoom. They're
Gosh,
agile.
the monster kind of robot. Yeah,
They're
flying
quite
things,
scary.
yeah.
They are quite scary.
They are, but actually the hummingbirds move in quite a similar way.
in a creepy way. Well, so researchers actually found on Thursday last week that typically, I suppose, if you were thinking of them trying to get through a small gap that would be smaller than their wingspan, I would have thought that they'd kind of just like bend their wings like a lot of other birds do, or kind of push them in towards their body. But they've actually found that they do kind of like a sideways shimmy, for lack of a better phrase, through these little gaps. So they do it while still flying, which is kind of insane. So they set up this apparatus to kind of look at it. So they set up basically like a little screen between two sides, and they changed the like size of the aperture or the height of the aperture, and saw how they would react. And because hummingbirds can't actually bend their wing bones, they instead, when they got to a gap that was too small for them, if they didn't know the gap as well, they would kind of halt before they got there, and then they would literally fling one wing forward, fling another back, and literally just like fly through, which is not what anyone expected.
Gosh, I'm thinking hummingbirds must be really excellent at commuting.
Yeah, I
Getting on and
know.
off the tube, no problem for them.
Exactly. And it was
Wow.
it's kind of insane. And I think people were shocked, like scientists were shocked at it, because it's not typically kind of, because I think the fact as well, they like maintain their speed the whole way. So the fact that they managed to do that while also completely kind of turning 90 degrees
Yeah,
is
that's
quite impressive.
Such a creative solution,
Yeah.
given that they can't bend their. I don't think I even knew that they couldn't bend their wings.
No,
So they can't fold them in.
Yeah, so they can they do it by two kind of tactics. So one is either that sideways shimmy, or the other way is if they're wanting to get through, I guess, a gap faster, and if they know what's on the other side, they instead just kind of push their wings towards their body. So kind of go through like a bullet.
Gosh,
Quite
high stakes as
It's
well.
very high stakes. Well,
They're
because
so fast. And
yeah, and also like a bird, like a lot of species of bird that feed on seeds, nectar, and fruit. So that's kind of how they get into those little gaps in the vegetation, which I thought was quite impressive. I thought it was very fun.
That's really impressive, and very
Very innovative.
very exciting experiment that
Yeah.
has used kind of a different method than they've tried before.
Yeah, and I think they put food on either side to kind of encourage them to come through, let's say.
That sweet nectar.
Yeah, exactly. So now I just want to spot a hummingbird. I just want to see them do it. But they do go so fast that it's kind of, you wouldn't really ever see it. But it's nice to know that that's what they're doing. And then another one I've got is actually about another animal. And this one is actually named after Sir David Attenborough, who we were talking about earlier with your fun game with your friends. And it's actually called the echidna. So it's an iconic egg-laying mammal, much like a platypus. So as you guys, I'm sure, are aware, mammals don't typically lay eggs. But the echidna, much like the platypus, do. And it hasn't been spotted in over 60 years. Until last week, it was spotted in an Indonesian tropical forest, which David Attenborough himself has apparently come out and said he's very happy to have heard they're not extinct, because for a long time researchers thought they were extinct. And they're characterised, if you're trying to get a visual of what they look like, so they have the spines of a hedgehog, the snout of an anteater, and the feet of a mole. So I don't know if you guys would have recognised this, but do you know what echidna actually means? It has another meaning, or it has another link to something.
well, I know that Sonic's best friend Knuckles is an echidna.
Oh,
That's
really?
my only experience.
Oh.
Yeah, bright red.
So I
think
don't know
they-
my Sonic well enough,
I think
obviously.
they said, okay, we have a blue hedgehog. We need another spiky little,
We need
little
a
creature.
spiky little friend.
She's an echidna. Let's go for that.
Because they're also really cute. You should Google a photo of them. They're
But I don't think I've answered your
really
question.
cute. No, well, so what I found out was that apparently it shares its name with a creature in Greek mythology. So I think it's a woman she was half woman, half snake. And so it's meant to kind of reference kind of its hybrid appearance of lots of different animals, which I thought was quite interesting. But yeah, it's called the long-beaked echidna. And yeah, they were thought to have gone extinct due to how hard it is to track them down. And I thought the reasons were quite sweet. So it's partly due to the fact that they're nocturnal, so it's quite hard to find them at night. They also live in burrows, but also apparently they tend to actually be quite shy, which I think is quite sweet. So yeah, I think they're still kind of considered critically endangered. But it's nice to know that they're still about, because they are very, very cute. And yeah, David Attenborough himself is meant to be very pleased that they've made a return and people have found them.
That's
So
fantastic.
yeah.
Funnily enough, I was looking at a picture of this very echidna over the weekend
Oh, really?
because, as you said, I've been away in Wales, and my friends and I all play this game where we watch David Attenborough, and we each have to drink when we see a particularly an emblematic thing that happens in a David Attenborough program. And I was looking up all of the species that are named after David Attenborough, and I think there's 13.
Really?
Yeah. But this one's definitely the best. The echidna's definitely the best.
Yeah.
Well, I
just
must
looks really
say,
cute.
looking at the picture that accompanies the Guardian's article on this 3 days ago,
Yeah.
it looks like a puppet or animatronic. It's quite an excellent photograph.
And it's got
long nose.
Yeah, the little nose is quite
or
funny.
mouth, yeah.
I didn't realise he had that many animals named after him.
Yeah.
Popular guy.
He certainly is.
Yeah.
Among scientists, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
What would you name an animal if you had the chance?
Oh,
You got to.
I think I'd probably do like something really stupid. Like it's like, you know, when they had in the UK we got to like name a boat a few years ago and we called it Boaty McBoatface.
It's now named the David Attenborough.
Is it?
Yeah.
How difficult. So I think I'd honestly go through like a dumb route like that. Like I don't know. I can't really think of anything on top of my head, but I'd probably make it as like stupid as possible, just because I had the option to do that. Why? What about you, Brian? Would you come up with a smart one?
I'd probably name it something embarrassing, like, you know, try and come up with a name that sounded cool to me, but then you know, a couple of years later, every time I heard it, I would die inside.
Have a little chuckle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was a sweet little thing. And then last little story I've got for you. So researchers have actually found, or astronomers I should say, have found a Milky Way-like galaxy in the early universe. So they've used the James Webb Space Telescope, which, as we all know, telescopes you can kind of look into the early universe due to the light that you receive is basically what it looked like when it left whatever object you're looking at. So you can kind of go back in time, back in time in a way. So they found one galaxy called Sears 2112, and found that it's a similar shape to our Milky Way-like galaxy. So don't know if you guys know this, but the shape of our Milky Way galaxy is called a barred spiral galaxy. So it basically is a spiral galaxy with like a bar of stars in the middle. So you'll typically kind of think of a galaxy, I guess, as like a big like swirl that just keeps going around this one centre, whereas the Milky Way has kind of like almost like a little rectangle in the middle and then two spirals coming out either side. So yeah, they found another galaxy that looks like a similar shape to that. But the reason this is surprising for researchers is that in the early universe, galaxies were much more chaotic. So it led astronomers to believe that it often took several billion years for galaxies to become ordered enough to develop bars like this. But Sears 2112 has actually been found to have kind of been made, I guess, quite soon after the Big Bang. So it's completely flipped their perception of when these galaxies developed, and yeah, shown that it can actually happen in a fraction of time, and by fraction of time I mean about 1 billion years. So it's still so it's still quite a long period of time, but relatively they thought it was about 8 billion years or 10 billion years it would take to develop these galaxies. But yeah, apparently it only takes a small fraction of 1 billion years.
Gosh,
So,
that's a real jump forward in how we think about galaxies then.
Yeah.
And that came just in the past week that's been discovered.
Just in the past week. I think it was on the 9th, so was that Thursday or Friday? But yeah, it's kind of insane. And it also got me like Googling all different kind of galaxies, because I hadn't really thought about how they could all be formed in different ways, different structures. And that was quite interesting. And I guess it kind of can allow us to kind of compare, contrast, all that kind of thing. So yeah.
Oh,
kind of crazy.
well, thank you so much, Ellen. I've really been fascinated by your news snippets this
Random
week.
little
Really
things.
lovely.
Yeah, I need to take more notice of the science news, I think. Well, maybe I don't when I've got you here to fill me in the
I'll
gaps.
just follow you all day.
Excellent. I would very much enjoy that. So I think let's drop into another tune after that. We are going to listen to Arca, Born Yesterday, and this is featuring Sia.
Something's wrong and I can feel it. And if the surface tension you can hide your shame tonight, and I can't take the words you cannot say. So hush now and don't cry. Mistakes are part of life. I wasn't born yesterday, and I see it in your face. I wasn't born yesterday, and I am not your baby anymore. You took my heart and now it's broken. So take your things, you gotta go now. Don't say a word or it might go down, go down, go down. And I'll stay cool until you walk out. But when you're gone, I lie here hoping that I will not drown. But you can hide your shame tonight, and I can't take the words you cannot say. So hush now and don't cry. Mistakes are part of life. I wasn't born yesterday, and I see it in your face. I wasn't born yesterday, and I am not your baby anymore. You took my heart, now it's broken. I ain't your baby anymore. Don't call me. Don't say a word because I know. Don't call me. I ain't your baby anymore. Don't call me. Don't say a word because I know. Don't call me, baby.
That was the innovative and experimental Arca. She's a Venezuelan musician, but she's actually based in Spain now, and she's worked with everyone from FK Twigs to Sia on that track Born Yesterday, and she actually recently opened for Beyonce in Barcelona. So yeah, she's
Queen
doing
bee.
Yeah, very.
Queen bee.
Exactly. So does anyone here drink coffee?
Far too much.
I've actually stopped,
Have you?
which I'm quite impressed.
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not very fun, guys. I think I'm going to get back on it.
Well,
I'm jealous of you.
yeah, this is going to make you want to stop as well,
Okay.
Brian.
Okay.
Are you prepared to have coffee ruined forever?
Go ahead and shoot. I'm dying inside now. I'm a little bit sad, but yeah.
I will preempt this with I also learnt this, and I still drink fanatical amounts of
Aha,
coffee. So
okay.
there's a way you might be able to get
There's a
through.
way forward. Okay.
Well, coffee is one of the most popular scents in the world, right? Like when people often name their favourite scent, it's coffee, freshly mown grass. But that smell, the particularly distinctive aroma, it's also found in poo.
Whose poo? All poo.
People's poo, animal poo.
Oh.
Wow.
Do you like the smell of poo, Brian?
A certain aroma. Is it a certain je ne sais quoi about the
Yeah.
coffee?
It certainly is. And this brings us on to the science of smell and why it's sometimes called the forgotten sense. So there's a hell of a lot less research gone into smell than there has been vision and hearing, and we we're kind of catching up at the moment, and one of the reasons why there's been a lot more research recently is because of the anosmia associated with COVID. So that's the loss of smell and taste. And do you have any experience with this? Well, actually, I'll just say one last thing. So it's not only poo scents that we get in coffee. There's a whole range. We have it's one of the most complicated aspects of scents that we have. So we have 400 different receptor types in our nose, and it's much harder to track than, say, vision, where we literally have 3 cone cells for detecting colour and 1 type of rod cell. So that's 4 receptors compared with 400 in the nose. So it's super complicated, and also the structure of the scent molecules, the olfactory molecules that we detect are very complex as well, and the binding to these receptors is not well understood at all. But yes, so you have had a bit of experience with this anosmia.
I did. Well, I got COVID maybe like a year into the pandemic. We were on, I don't know, like lockdown 3 or 2 or whatever lockdown we were on, and found it hard. I lost my I had a blocked nose, so I lost my sense of smell, I guess. But I was just in a lot of colds you would do that, you'd lose that. But I lost my taste, and I have to say that was probably one of the least enjoyable experiences, because being stuck inside, one of the only joys I had was what food I was going to eat for dinner each time. Every 2 hours it was oh, what snack am I going to have? And so the fact that then all enjoyment was lost from that as well.
Gosh, I'm very interested in this. So lost, as in lost completely, and you put something in to eat, and it would just be just the sensation of the thing, and no taste at all.
Yeah, because I think some people had it where the taste changed, but I just had no taste.
Gosh.
So what was quite interesting is you started eating things for texture. So crisps had quite a fun texture. The magic of chocolate was completely lost on me, because it was just I don't know, it didn't really have a fun texture.
Sort of a slowly melting thing.
Yeah, and also it's you knew that it tasted really good, but you couldn't enjoy it, so that became really sad. And it just, to be honest, kind of put me off eating. I was not really in the mood to do it. And then I did a crazy thing that I probably shouldn't have done, where you Google on the internet, you're will you get your taste back after COVID? And then it showed me about 20 different stories of people who still a year later not had their taste back, and I was just oh, it's going to be horrible. But I got it back, so
it was quite scary.
Yeah, it was not very fun. Obviously it could have had a lot worse symptoms, but it wasn't very fun.
No, and you're right, lots of people haven't got their sense of taste or smell back, and it has prompted this kind of huge amount of research. In 2018, so pre-pandemic, Brown University had come up with an e-nose, a sort of robot nose called Trufflebot, which is adorable. Yeah. I think really cute name for an e-nose. But electronic noses have still underperformed quite substantially when it comes to trained dogs. So have you heard about this? They can train dogs now to detect different diseases. They've started to train them to detect things like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, I think, as well.
I have heard about that. Yeah.
Wait, how do this using their smell?
Yeah.
How?
Well, because dogs have a more acute sense of smell than we do, and they can be trained to detect explosives and drugs and things like that. And actually, one very interesting thing which someone in a previous SciComm year made a documentary about was these dogs who'd been trained to detect small mammals as part of ecological research. So water voles, so they wouldn't attack them, they would just sniff them out, and it's really, really hard to detect water voles. It's really hard to tell where they are because they're very secretive. But yeah, so these dogs have been trained to detect Alzheimer's, the chemicals that Alzheimer's emits, because it releases olfactory molecules. That's the one. Thank you. And funnily enough, the research started because of a woman in Scotland who could detect the smell of certain diseases. And
Wow.
she noticed that her husband was smelling quite strange, and she kept asking him what he'd done differently. And eventually it transpired that he had Parkinson's, early onset Parkinson's, and they started going to a self-help group, or a kind of research group of lots of different people, and she suddenly realized that this was the smell that she'd been smelling for
so
all these
interesting.
years, and it was on all of these other people, and her family just have this extremely heightened sense of smell. And she's been working with researchers to see if she can detect other diseases as well. And when it was found that she could, they started looking at potentially training dogs to do the same thing. But to have an AI, or to have a robot that's able to do this, would be incredibly useful for disease detection, but it would also be useful in bombed places, in places that are post a war, where there might have been particular chemicals released. We would hope not, but you know, that's very much part of it. Or in the wake of a disaster at like a particular factory, or say sewage plant, you know, we can go in with these kind of e-noses and see whether levels of certain chemicals are dangerously high for animals or for humans. So that's the general idea. And there's a couple of people who are really trying to advance the field of sense of smell, specifically by trying to train robots to be able to smell better. So we've got an AI startup called Osmo, and that one is working on this disease prevention, or trying to find the source of disease in terms of its olfactory profile. And we're kind of learning more and more about human smell by developing these models of AI, but we're kind of quite early on in the process. So it's a new field to explore, and if anyone wants to be the next big, I don't know, Nobel person,
Yeah.
Francis Crick or David Watson,
Be
then
big in the world of smell.
exactly, then it's
There's something on the wind that in that direction.
Yeah.
You just have the nose to smell it.
yeah.
Also, if you're
certainly
working in I don't know, the smell industry, you yourself have to smell pretty great, right? Like you can't smell bad.
It's a
is. So
pressure to the phone.
true.
Exactly.
Well, I've always wondered, you know, I think people, when you ask them to list the senses, they go, you know, sight. Humans are really a sight-based creature, you know, and I think our sight is pretty good comparative to a lot of other animals. And then probably they might go to hearing. But I think smell usually comes up third, or at least I think it does, for people I've spoken to. But I think if you ask people which one they'd like to get, they would mind. Of course, they would mind, but they would mind least of all getting rid of. I think smell would probably be quite high up there for people. What do you guys
Yeah.
think?
So we've got sight, touch,
Taste
taste, smell,
and hearing.
and hearing.
But taste and smell are so intrinsically
yeah.
linked as well.
Hold your
so
nose when you eat something, and you'll see.
Yeah.
exactly. So you kind of lose both when you lose one of those.
Let me think.
Well, I've already. I mean, my vision is rubbish. I know. I mean, I'm just short-sighted, so it's not that bad. But my hearing is on its way out, and I do love chocolate though.
Yeah, that's the thing. So much enjoyment from food.
Yeah.
Well, you guys know about the hidden sixth sense as well. Of course, people talk about you know, something psychic, but really it's the. You know what it is, Kayla?
I do. Yes,
Yeah.
it's the light receptor that we have in a certain part of our brain, which I've forgotten the name of, and it dictates our circadian rhythms.
Oh, there you go. You got it.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's what's the name of the?
I can't quite recall. I was thinking of another one actually as well, which maybe there's seven senses. Then I was thinking of proprioception, where you know where your parts of your body are without really having to look. But I guess that might be an extension of touch in one way.
Yeah, maybe.
sort of an eternal touch.
My mind went to the Bruce Willis film The Sixth Sense. If any of you ever seen that, it's such a good film. But she's got like a psychic power, so she's the Sixth Sense apparently.
Yeah, no, that's not. I don't think that's classified as the Sixth Sense. Psychic.
Yeah, with
powers.
Bruce Willis as your best friend.
It's not.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about the science of smell. We might come back to that if anything drastic happens in that sphere in the next few weeks. But I think it's time for another tune. What do you guys think?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you're feeling stressed, but Doki is. This is Stressed by Doki.
Lost in my regrets, I must be down, I must be stressed. I got like 13 years of age that I ain't still got off my chest. It must be so much more to life if I had diamonds and bullets. I must be stupid, shady, must be down, I must be stressed. I must be cooler than glaciers, I'm straight as the lines on my paper. I must be out of my nature, put that on my Lord and my Savior. I must be ready for more, ready to go. Universe spoke, I must be. No. You don't really want no parts in it. Only do in my heart's in it. These days, feelings on shortages, and I only show love to my heart message. Darling, I've been shady, feelings fadey. I've been lackadaisy, so frustrating. I've been sorting life like it's the 80s. I must be lost in my regrets. I must be down, I must be stressed. I got like 13 years of age that I ain't still got off my chest. It must be so much more to life if I had diamonds and bullets. I must be stupid, shady, must be down, I must be stressed. I must be. Sabotaging me till I'm forced to rip the mask off. This body means just reflection of the last loss. This body is in remembrance of the last thought. And this lady is too pretentious of the mascot. Look, I got a 22, I went and caught his cash 22. And here's your body back that I can dance for you. Let me live for you. Let me crawl inside your body, make a meal of you. And tell you how many times I feel you. I must be lost in my regrets. I must be down, I must be stressed. I got like 13 years of age that I ain't still got off my chest. It must be so much more to life if I had diamonds and bullets. I must be stupid, shady, must be down, I must be stressed. I must be lost in my regrets. I must be down, I must be stressed. I got like 13 years of age that I ain't still got off my chest. It must be so much more to life if I had diamonds and bullets. I must be stupid, shady, must be down, I must be stressed. I must be. I got my champagne. You know, I got on Vetements right now. And I'm still stressed, even in my Balenciaga. I see you in the back.
That was Stressed by Doki. What do you reckon? Are you stressed? Do you like Doki?
I really like that song. She's not made me stressed, and I don't feel that stressed totally as of yet.
I'm stressed. So, and that song was soothing balm on my stress.
Soothing man.
Yeah, it's quite contrasting, isn't it? Because it's kind of a bop. It
kind
gets
of uplifting,
it gets the
Cathartic,
stress
yeah.
out.
You got to boogie out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think moving for stress is probably one of the best things you can
Yeah.
do.
That's what they always say. Get up from your desk and sort
Don't
of
wanna
stretch
run.
your shoulders and everything. And if you
Yeah.
can take 3 minutes and do it to that song, then
Yeah,
you'll probably
exactly.
come back ready to go.
Dance break.
Yeah, and it's a good amount of time. A 3-minute stress break listening to Stressed.
Perfect.
That's what we recommend.
It's a prescription for everyone listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what do you guys think about putting the quiz now instead of at the end of the show?
Let's go for it. I probably won't do any
I'm
better.
ready to go.
So yeah.
You're ready to go.
Ready.
Is it me versus Brian?
Yes.
Oh, I'm gonna lose so badly.
And
What makes
so
you say that?
I'm not very good at this quiz, Brian. I don't know if you've noticed that.
I was about to say
Now my stress levels have gone up.
you're definitely the underdog.
Yeah, thank you, Caitlin.
In
Yeah.
this quiz, but you know it's time to redeem yourself.
I don't think that's going to happen, but we can have a go.
I believe wholehearted in you, Ellen, and you know, hey, with all this glory to win,
Yeah.
you've got it's all up for grabs.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So Brian, you're going to be playing head to head with Ellen. Have you prepared in any way at all? You've been doing
Yes,
your mental
I've been
stretches?
studying. That's exactly right. I've been my mental stretches. I've been concentrating very hard on one particular thing, and then releasing, and then concentrating very hard again. So
Okay. Well, yeah, this quiz has been devised by Jamie, so there might be some strange US knowledge in there that we Brits don't know about.
I'll brace myself.
Okay, so question number 1. How many teeth do human adults have?
Is it me or Brian?
I'm going to you first, Ellen,
Oh God, okay.
as
One sec.
underdog.
You
I
count
would just
your-
like to say that there is some serious counting.
Am
going
I
on.
including wisdom? Is it an adult with wisdom teeth?
It's an adult without wisdom teeth. With wisdom
With
teeth.
wisdom teeth.
Ellen
okay.
has leaned back in her chair and she's
Jamie
pointing
for
at
6,
her mouth and she's counting one by moving along
6,
her row of
8,
teeth, and she's
9,
going one by one
10.
all the way along.
10.
I'm going to have to.
Sorry, I'm
press
going to
you
say
for this.
22.
Err.
Oh.
I need a button for that.
Arr.
Big red button. Err. I'm afraid that's wrong.
Is it higher or lower?
I'm not going to say because
Okay.
I'm going to pass the question over to Brian.
I'm gonna say I've heard 24 floated as a number, so I'm gonna go with that.
Okay. Err. You're both quite wrong.
Oh.
In fact, we have 32 teeth.
Gosh,
We
a lot of teeth.
Maybe I can't add.
this is actually a bit of a trick question because it is the entire set of adult teeth. So the 8 incisors, 4 canines, 8 premolars, and 12 molars. That sounds excessive.
I don't think I've got room for them.
I don't know. I was going to say that sounds like too many molars.
Yeah.
I don't have wisdom teeth, so I personally don't have 32 teeth. How about you guys? You got any wisdom teeth?
I've got they're half grown through and they're just given up. They're just like,
Oh, that
Yeah.
sounds not
Did
fun.
you just get robbed, stolen from you, Caitlin? How'd you lose your wisdom
No,
teeth?
they're just not there.
You just don't have them.
you don't have any.
I'm just not wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Don't worry, you are. You don't need wisdom teeth to be wise.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of quite glad not to have to suffer through the pain, to be honest.
Yeah.
They seem utterly pointless.
Because in America, they in the UK, we wouldn't remove them, would we? Unless they're causing you an issue. But in America, they automatically remove them,
Do you
which
know
I
one
always
of
find quite
the
interesting.
one of the leading causes of death for Stone Age people was that their teeth would kill them. They get a tooth infection.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So there you go. We're
Wow.
lucky we don't have that problem.
Go to your
Make
dentist.
sure you're
guys.
brushing everyone and flossing. That's what
Yeah.
the dentist said.
Go to your dentist.
Wow, I definitely didn't know that. Gosh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, quiz question number 2. This one's for Brian. How many phases of the moon are there?
Oh gosh. Okay. Ooh, is a phase when it goes from all the way waxed to all the way waned? Is that one phase?
Oh, he's got the technology, the terminology. hasn't he?
Because in that case, I would say 12, one for each month. But I feel like that's totally wrong. But I'm gonna stick to it. 12 phases.
That is incorrect. I'm very sorry to say, Brian.
Was I on the right track?
Uh,
Can't tell me.
in that there are some phases of the moon. Yes,
Is it now going to me?
it is going to you. Your opportunity has
Is
come.
it 28? No, that seems really high.
Yes, it does.
The reason, because we did in primary school, we got a little sheet where we had to, for 1 month, we had to colour in each circle for what the moon looked like outside every night, and it was meant to represent the different phases of the moon. Obviously, I don't remember it very well. 20, I don't know.
I'm afraid. I think I need a better wrong noise. It's annoying me now, so I'll come up with a new one next time. You're both wrong. The moon has 8 phases, I'm
Oh.
afraid to say.
8.
In order, they are the new moon, when the moon is completely dark and invisible to us. Although you sometimes see that sort of ghost moon, don't you?
Oh,
Which I
yes,
quite
yes.
like.
I know just what you mean.
Yeah. And then we get a waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full moon,
quite lovely.
waning gibbous, third quarter, and waning crescent. And then we start over at the new moon.
Sounds very off.
It's quite evocative, isn't it? A gibbous moon.
Yeah,
The moon was gibbous in
Yes,
the sky.
does anyone know what gibbous means?
Of the moon.
No.
When it's in its
Yeah.
third and fifth.
Do you know what the moon's meant to be tonight?
I
Or
don't.
now it's probably dark outside already, isn't
Particularly gibbous. I know.
it?
Well, gibbous, it comes from Latin meaning hump.
Oh.
And it's having an illuminated part greater than a semicircle, but less than a circle. So I guess
Okay.
it's where we've got
Three quarters.
yeah, somewhere
Sort
between
of a lumpy moon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a lumpy, humpy moon.
That helps.
Yeah. So no points to anyone so
We're doing
far.
great, Brian. This makes me feel quite good.
On to question number 3. Okay, going to you,
Oh
Ellen.
God. Okay. Let's see
Where
what
are red blood cells made?
goes. The bone marrow.
Yay!
I knew that.
Yeah, I bet you did. Yeah.
Well, nil point to you, Brian.
Gosh.
And yeah, so they're made in the bone marrow. Do you know, for a bonus question, where they are removed? So where old ones are removed.
By the removed.
When they get tired out.
Yeah. So because you
Brian
don't
looks like he knows the answer.
you don't want to have all of these old crusty red
Where
blood
they're
cells.
removed.
Oh, I'm so tired. I've been going around the bloodstream so many times.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of
Oh, please let me retire. I'm a little red blood
Okay, I'm
cell.
gonna
I don't
I'm
know.
gonna-
Brian, come on, Brian.
pushing you, Ellen.
Don't
is,
know.
Okay, Brian.
Is it the spleen?
It is the spleen.
spleen.
Yes. Oh no! Now I've given you 1 point each. I'm so sorry, Ellen.
It's fine. You have to do a
Um,
bonus point for one of his questions, but I probably won't know the answer.
And the final quiz question of the night: which animal lays the biggest egg in the world? Brian, it's over to you.
I have an answer in my head, but I think it's the obvious one. But I'm just going to go for it. Is it the ostrich?
It is the ostrich. Yes. And for 10 million bonus points,
Yeah.
Ah,
how long is the egg, and how big is it diameter-wise?
So height-wise, how tall?
How
it is?
tall is it? Yeah.
I would say
thought about an egg being long before, but sorry, Alan, go ahead.
30 centimeters high. I don't know. That's quite high.
No, that's not it, I'm afraid.
I'm going to say...
What is the biggest egg?
I'm going to say about 10 inches.
No, I'm afraid not. It's 6 inches or 15 centimetres long.
Oh. That's
Wait,
actually not as big as I would have thought.
Do you use inches in Ireland?
No.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. Just centimeters is harder for me to relate to. I've been Americanized. It's my. You pity me, please. I've been.
I was going to say, because I'll forgive Jamie for putting it in inches, because, you know, the US with a silly non-metric system.
But also, I love how we both
Jamie
like, put our
did,
hands
I
out.
have to say, put centimetres in there for reference, which she has just shouted at me in my headphones. So, on that note, both of you win. Nothing.
Woo!
Yay!
Congrats,
Not.
Brian.
What was what you said earlier?
No.
Not.
You got 1 point. No, you didn't.
He got 2 points. I got 1 point. He got 2
You
points.
did get 1 point. Yeah,
he got-
okay.
At least I'm on the scoring board this week.
Yeah, exactly. You're coming up in the world, Ellen.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you would like to hear how Ellen gets on in all future quizzes, we'll be back here at the
Yeah.
exact same time, 1 o'clock Monday.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll be Ellen, sometimes it'll be Valentina.
I might improve to 2 points. next
Yeah,
time.
that's exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Anyway, I think on that thrilling note, we'll move on to another track. I'm feeling Fever Ray, What They Call Us. Sorry, Jamie.
First, I'd like to say that I'm sorry. I've done all the tricks that I can. Cinnamon bun in the oven. There's a fire in my hand. Did you see the light this morning? Sometimes there's this extra air. Sometimes I can keep my mouth open. I will stay if I dare. Did you hear what they call us? Did you hear what they said? My plan was flexible. Don't get stuck anywhere. Can I just hold you for a minute? Some things just ain't easy to repair. The person who came here was broken. Can you fix it? Can you care? Did you hear what they call us? Did you hear what they said? I've got a plan that's flexible. Just don't stop anywhere. It's a common misperception. This is not a band ready for a dissection. Now mommy's gotta work, see the land. Did you hear what they call us? Did you hear what they said? I've got a plan that's flexible. Just don't stop anywhere.
That was What They Call Us by Fever Ray, and Fever Ray are from Sweden. Well, they're now living in Berlin, but they're originally from Sweden, and I really love them. But I hear we've had some contact from
we've got
the
fans,
outside world.
guys.
We've got fans.
Yeah.
And what are our fans saying?
Well, granted, we all know them, so. And they're on our course, so I don't know if they're classed as fans.
A mysterious stranger. Who could this person be?
Yeah,
that
so there's a
Ellen's back?
girl, we've got a listener called Amelia Griffin, who, after hearing the hummingbird story, has actually said that she did her field trip project on hummingbirds and territory order. LOL, she says.
We'll have to get Amelia on to talk about hummingbirds,
that.
because I think we were all pretty interested in how they move, and that's amazing. So she went and did it out in the wild. She went and saw where they were.
I'm assuming she hasn't divulged any more than that, but
Okay, well,
we'll
shout
have to
out
get
to
her on.
Amelia. We'll be calling you up and dragging you onto the show sometime
She'll
soon.
be on the next week, I believe. So
Nice.
she's going to talk to us about crocheting and about all ways that people, do things with their hands to kind of soothe and distract and process thoughts. So we'll make sure we can include a sneaky question on hummingbirds as a follow-up when she's with us next week.
Yeah, definitely going to have to do that. Well, from one bird to another, to another completely different species, I was in British Columbia, as we've kind of talked about, and I did some recording whilst I was there, and so we're going to drop in with something that I made that kind of shed a light on some of the sounds I heard. What did you think that was? The sounds of hot air balloons? Maybe the fire they use in making glass? I think it sounds like a gathering of steam trains meeting to discuss business. But actually, I made this recording sat on a boat in Alaska. We turned off the engine and everyone agreed to stay as quiet as possible, because at that moment 3 pods of humpback whales had surrounded the boat and were coming up repeatedly in this orchestra of air music, which I find just as moving as the whale song we're more used to hearing from below the depths. By the way, in the background, that chuntering that could be an engine, it's actually sea lions about a kilometre away, and their voices, they travel.
That was awesome.
That person is Misty, a salmon scientist who works for Raincoast, an amazing charity trying to protect the coastal regions of British Columbia. And as much as Misty knows about salmon, she also knows a hell of a lot about the things that eat them, which includes humpback whales.
So the good thing, like right now we're sort of seeing whales come to the surface and go back down. They're not as active and cooperative as whales could be sometime, but in a way it's a good thing, because it kind of indicates that there's lots of food around if the whales don't have to work together to feed, because they feed cooperatively when it's more advantageous to do so, when they need more prey than they're getting on their own, and then they would work together. So we're seeing very casual whales traveling, likely feeding, but not, they're hanging out together, but they're not working collaboratively to feed. So it may be a sign that there's lots of food around.
And so even when they don't necessarily need each other for food, is it the social element of their lives that kind of brings them together?
It could be, because sometimes we see whales that are just solitary, and other times they'll be in pairs, and other times they'll be in large groups. So it's sort of hard to say a lot about their culture, even though, we see that presence of culture in the behaviors that the whales are doing as whales have recovered on this coast. So we'll see behaviors that start up here and then they spread to other populations of whales in other areas. So we know that culture is here, but the role of, whether at the extent that they want to be social, it's a bit of a question still.
Okay, yeah.
Because it seems like they synchronize their breathing.
Yeah. They're diving at the same time. They're coming up, and there could be juveniles with their moms. You know, sometimes that happens. But yeah, definitely, you're seeing big adult whales that are choosing to synchronize. Sometimes in the resting lines, even with the humpback whales, you'll see that they're pretty close together, and in these resting lines, they're often close enough.
Sorry, you were saying the kind
all
of
good.
cohesion.
We were pleasantly interrupted. But with killer whales, when they form their resting lines, it's often these are pods that are matrilineal, and they're often led by females. But when they form the resting lines, they want to be touching the whale next to them. So whether it's their pectoral fins or they'll lay their dorsal fins over, so that they'll run their dorsal fin down the sides of the other whales, but they want to be touching each other. So that social cohesion is so strong in killer whales.
So that was me in Alaska, and Misty, and these glorious, wonderful whales, which I was lucky enough to see.
I think that's such a treat, that piece there. It's just really thoughtful and transports me.
Oh, I'm really glad. I mean, what was really interesting was it's very hard to not say anything when you're in that environment, and when you're seeing something so as incredible and transportative as all of these whales coming up. But actually, when we do just stop talking and actually listen to some of the sounds of the natural world, it can be so much more powerful. It can really, really take you off your shoes, really. And people were in tears by the end of the 5 minutes of us just not saying anything.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Makes me think of in some science fiction movies, when they're going on a long journey, they'll bring recordings with them, and you might have characters sitting on their bunks on the spaceship, and they're listening to the sounds of the rainforest, just ambient recordings of home. It's kind of that similar effect, just to be reminded about our world, and to just sit and be reflective for a moment.
Yeah.
Well, I think sound and actually smell as well has a real powerful way of transporting us back to a place or reigniting a memory.
Yeah.
And I think that great audio can kind of take you back to where you were when you first listened to it, or a song will capture like a particular period of your life,
or a memory.
Yeah. So I think the way that our senses are kind of tied to memory is something that's really wonderful and can be used in like a really creative way. So I thoroughly enjoyed making that, because I just got to listen to these whales over and over again. Well, we're actually coming to near the end of the show. It's been another treat to have you on, Ellen, as always.
Catch you in 2 weeks.
Thank you so much for bringing us all of your really interesting news.
Thank you for putting up with me.
Oh no, you're wonderful as always, and your enthusiasm is great. So yes, we will see you back in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, get ready, Brian. I'll beat you in the quiz. Hopefully.
You try your best.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's
gonna be a
training
edition?
time.
Christmas edition or
Christmas edition,
potentially.
Down the road, not next week, but
So,
week after.
do you think you'll do better on Christmas questions?
science Christmas questions could be really interesting.
Oh, that's very niche. Science Christmas
Yeah.
questions. Okay, we'll try. We'll
How
put
many
that
teeth
together.
did Santa have?
Particular temperature that a pudding gets when you light it on fire.
Exactly.
Something like
Yeah.
that.
Or how many trees get slaughtred in the bid for Christmas
That's
trees?
not a fun one.
Exactly.
Hey, I'm a vegetarian. What can you expect?
You're the one cutting down those trees then.
Well, no, actually, I'm all for the pine trees being chopped right down. Actually, interestingly, last bit of scientific snippet information. Have you heard of the Sitka spruce?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, because it's the main plantation forest that we have in the UK, right? Especially in Ireland.
as well.
Yeah,
It's all coniferous. Yeah.
exactly. Well, I went to Sitka, the actual place.
You've been everywhere.
It was part of the same trip.
Did you spruce things up over there?
Well, it definitely took me a good couple of days to realise that this was the Sitka, where the Sitka spruce is from, and of course it's meant to be over there. This Sitka's actually in Alaska. It's supposed to be on the west coast of the kind of North Pacific area, but it's certainly not supposed to be over here in such plentiful numbers, and it's because it grows really fast and but it's really strange seeing it in its natural habitat. It doesn't produce the same dearth of wildlife on the forest floor because of all
it's
that.
very dead, you know, when you look at those dark and dead and
Absolutely.
especially in Ireland. Yeah.
Well, you can have that one for free. We're coming to the end of the show. We hope you had as much fun as we did. And the most recent issue of iScience magazine, Connections, is available around campus. You can also visit our website, isciencemag.co.uk. This is our first week live on IC Radio, and you can catch us there every Monday at 5 p.m. from now on. We hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.
You keep saying you got something for me. Something you call love, but confess. You've been a messin' where you shouldn't have been a messin'. And now someone else is getting all your best. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you. Yeah. You keep lying when you ought to be truthin'. And you keep losing when you ought to not bet. You keep saying when you ought to be a-changin'. Now what's right is right, but you ain't been right yet. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you. You keep playing where you shouldn't be playing. And you keep thinking that you'll never get burned. Ha! I just found me a brand new box of matches, yeah. And what he knows you ain't had time to learn. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you. Are you ready, Boots? Start walking.